time where he beat me. So that's what I think. Next time, you know, it ain't going to the scorecards.
Duran will get another crack at Pazienza, a rematch set for January 14th. You'd think these two would gain respect after going 12 rounds. Think again.
Benny, I hope you're watching tonight. Next time, you're going to be cleaning the ring mat with your body, because I'm going to retire you from boxing. I'm going to destroy you.
Y él sabe que no me va a ganar ni en la revancha. No se te olvide que tú siempre has sido una gallina. Tú no eres el hombre que me puede solucionar a mí.
Don't forget, you've always been a chicken, and you're not the kind of guy that can intimidate me.
Y el día que me venga a decir algo en la conferencia de prensa, te voy a meter un garnatón y te voy a pegar mismo para que me respetes.
And next time you come talking to me in the press conference, I'm going to slap you so you respect me, because that's who you are.
Y donde me toque, te voy a meter la mano.
And if you get even lay a finger, man, I'm going to knock you out without gloves.
Lo único que te digo que no me toque porque te voy a meter un bofetón.
Don't touch me, because I will knock you out.
While Roberto has Vinny on the brain, might he overlook Heath Todd, who tonight he'll have in his face. Todd, a club fighter who will make it a brawl.
Esos son los boxeadores que uno más se tiene que cuidar, porque esos son los que más dañan a uno.
Those are the ones you got to really be careful with the most, those type of fighters, because those are the ones that sometimes put you in danger in a fight. Guys that nobody expects.
Pero como yo estoy con la gana de pelear que yo tengo de nuevo con la revancha de Paciencia, que le tengo una gana al bocón ese tipo no me puede ganar a mí.
He says, you know, with the hunger I got to fight Paciencia again, to shut that big mouth, you know, there's nobody can beat me right now.
22 years ago, a 21-year-old Roberto Duran won the first of his 4 world titles in a career immortalized by his fierce intensity, which a 43-year-old warrior says is still the essence of Roberto Duran. Oh, he's wide open, Duran now, connecting upstairs and out of nowhere, Sean Fitzgerald is down.
Como perdí como te dije.
I feel my hunger is a lot greater now, you know, because you know, as I get older, a lot of people, you know, criticize me, don't believe in me. So now I'm more hungry to prove the world that, you know, at my age, you're not old. I feel good, I feel strong, and I keep bringing up the Paciencia because he does give me a little hunger, because he's such a bad guy. I have so much hate for him, so much desire to, you know, to give him a beating. But he gives me a little bit of hunger now too.
Roberto Duran is a beaten fighter when his mind is not on the business at hand. Roberto Duran has shown that he fights better when he's angry. His anger is over Vinny Pazienza, but now, tonight, going up against Heath Todd, he realizes that he must have not only a win, but he also must have an impressive showing.
Well, he says he's hungry. He says he's in great condition. There are those who feel it's a travesty that Roberto Duran, at the age of 43, is still stepping into the ring. What's your feeling when you see Duran go through those ropes and work his way into the ring for another fight?
I've had bad feelings before about fighters who have come back, especially after telling us that they weren't going to come back. Well, Roberto Duran never really said he was not going to come back. I, though, now am I'm kind of excited that he's come back. He comes into the ring, and he brings with him what he took to make him the lightweight champion of the world, and that is the ferocity.
Well, he also steps in the ring here at Bay St. Louis, which has become a very safe haven for Roberto Duran. His opponent here tonight is a 25-4 Heath Todd from Missouri, and he built up that record on the Midwest circuit, and he will make it a fight. He is a brawler. Ironically, he likes to think that he has taken his style from one of the all-time greats.
Mr. Duran was one of my idols. I live to be like him. I fight a lot like him. There's nothing that I don't do like him. I'm a brawler. I can also slip and move good. I've got good fast hands, but I'm sure I'll show everybody that tonight.
Heath Todd is a fighter who is game. He's tough. He's not faced the competition of even close to a Roberto Duran, and for that reason, he may play right into the hands of stone.
Kind of a surreal moment for Heath Todd, looking across at his all-time idol. Hard for for him to believe he is actually in the ring with Duran, and we'll see if he comes out awestruck and perhaps even freezes in the early seconds of the fight. That's all Roberto Duran would need. The Castro tail of the tape, Duran at 167. He's been in the 63 to 67 range in this latest of his comeback over the last couple of years in 8 fights. And Todd, whose last fight was at 158, actually has to come up into Duran's range. Advantage Roberto on the tail of the tape. The rules here in Mississippi, standing 8 count is in effect, 3 knockdown rule in effect. You can be saved by the bell only in the final round, and the scoring on the 10-point must scoring system, and this is a scheduled 10-round fight. And here's how the champ sizes it up on the blackboard.
Brought to you by Old Spice, tonight's boxing blackboard. Former 4-time champion of the world, Roberto Duran. His strengths, extremely smart and crafty in the ring. That's from his experience and reputation. Still at this age, he throws sharp punches. His weaknesses, one of the first things to go on all aging fighters, foot speed. And at age 43, he's more mellow. He doesn't fight with the same fury. Glad of that is Heath Todd. His strengths, tough, durable. He has a good chin, and he's not afraid to use it. He's rough, muscular style, likes to brawl. But his weaknesses, very limited. Never fought at this level. His slow style, he's easy to hit, and that makes him susceptible to cuts.
Live from the boxing mecca of the South, Casino Magic, Budweiser, the undisputed, undefeated king of beers, proud to be your bud, proudly presents tonight's main event of the evening. Tonight, Louis Tacuba and Mike Acre Promotions in association with Casino Magic. 10 rounds of boxing once again in the super middleweight division. Your referee is Les Bonanno, your matchmaker Les Bonanno, and tonight's main event sanctioned, ruled, and governed by the Mississippi State Athletic Commission, Chairman Billy Lyons, Chief Deputy Commissioner Sal Duranto, and in the ring at this time, the man in charge, really in charge, he's referee Elmo Adolph. And now, Ice Cold Budweiser presents the principles for tonight's main event. First, he's boxing out of the red corner, wearing the black and drink trunks with the red lettering and weighing in at 166 pounds. With a fine pro career, 25 wins, 4 defeats, 10 of those 25 wins coming by knockout. From Gladstone, Missouri, he's Heath the Heathen Todd. Opponent boxing out of the blue corner. This young man really needs no introduction to worldwide knowledgeable boxing fans. Wearing a lavender trunks with a gold trim and weighing in at a fit, fighting and ready 167 pounds. With an unbelievable pro career, 93 wins, 10 defeats, 64 of those wins coming by knockout. 4-time world champion from Panama City, Panama, El Hijo de la República de Panama, Panama's favorite son, Roberto Manos de Piedra, Hands of Stone, Duran. 10 rounds of boxing in the Supermate division. Your referee for the main event, Elmo Adolph.
Both of the instructions in the back, I want you to pay attention to my commands at all times. Let me just tell you something. Both of you are kind of high up here. I'm going to count anything that hits up here. Okay, shake hands now. Come back out, fight.
You heard the reaction of the crowd here for Roberto Duran. Outside of Pazienza, in the last couple of years, he hasn't faced world-class competition, but he comes out, Sean, with that fighter's desire, does not go through the motions. He gives the fans their money's worth, but he picks his spots. As you said before, he's just not as fierce wall-to-wall as he used to be. Vinny Pazienza, sitting at home watching this, thinks that Roberto Duran is a shot fighter, even though it was Duran who put Pazienza down for the first time in his career. After that fight, by the way, Duran, who was ranked number 8 in the world, has slipped out of the top 10 to number 14. And he has Pazienza on his mind, but right now looks at Heath Todd, who is having probably for Heath a religious experience right now. In the ring with, can't even call him Roberto, doesn't have the courage to call him Roberto, Mr. Duran. But one thing he does have in the ring is courage. Heath Todd is a brawler. He is on one hand, it's great heart, never quits, has that mauling style, but on the other hand, it's a face-first style, very wide-open target, which Duran hopes is made to order for him.
Well, he hopes Duran is overlooking him. He says, because when he says, I'm a Kansas City fighter, but I'm not a bad fighter. Vinny Pazienza, after that fight with Duran, he moved up to number 6 in the world. Vinny Pazienza, I'm sure, watching with great intent tonight, trying to do his homework. They are scheduled to fight January 14th.
Well, Duran certainly opened up the first salvo, and we'll be seeing Vinny, actually. He'll have his equal time. November 8th will be in Ledyard, Connecticut, at Foxwoods when he faces Randy Williams. I'm sure he'll have his rebuttal for all the kind words Roberto had to say about the Tasmanian Devil a little early. And Roberto right now knows that he's going to have to work a little here against Heath Todd, the Heathen.
The Heathen. Well, the Heathen is coming out tonight with a brawler style, as he said. He's got quick hands. His best punch, he says, is a right cross. He is...
Duran slips, he goes down, but not happy that his knees hit the canvas.
No, not at all. That's embarrassing when that happens. And it is extremely important for Roberto Duran to make a good impression tonight, not only on the face of Heath Todd, but also for somebody else watching him. In this fight, big argument in the back. There is a good overhand right from Duran about the gloves. Normally, super middleweights wear 10-ounce gloves. They are in 8-ounce tonight.
The advantage to the harder punching Roberto Duran, who also, this fight originally, I understand, was contracted for 163 pounds. But when Heath Todd got here, Duran was at 168 and said that's what the deal was for, which made Todd have to come up even more. Todd's the kind of fighter who can make 154. Closing seconds of round 1. It's scheduled for 10. Camp, we're off next week. In a couple of weeks, we'll be in Las Vegas. That will be the scene of the boxing world, and we'll have a couple of heavyweight fights in our co-features. World-ranked Joe Hipp will be taking on Rodolfo Marin, and also on that night, undefeated Andrew Galata against the rejuvenated Jesse Ferguson after his fight against Larry Holmes, and also stopping by Michael Moore and George Foreman. You know, a few days later, November 5th, they will be tangling for the heavyweight championship of the world. Now Roberto Duran in the second round against a charging Heath Todd.
Both of those fighters you talked about, Foreman and Michael Moore, we've seen here many times on USA's Tuesday Night Fights. In fact, Foreman's comeback was about the same, done the same way that Duran's has been. Fighting just about every month or every couple of months against fighters that he could control the pace and the tempo against. The fighters like Heath Todd.
Heath Todd was 2 months old when Roberto Duran stepped in the ring for his first professional fight in March of 1967. And he won a 4-round decision as a bantamweight against Carlos Mendoza.
Well, Heath Todd started boxing about 11 or 12 years old. He got into boxing because his brother was a boxer and he didn't know it, but he hid in the bushes and followed his brother to the gym. He said, I learned that from my Cherokee Indian background. I followed my brother to the gym and then started taking boxing up there. He had about 30 amateur fights.
Well, he's made up for lost time. He's turned pro in 92. He had 11 fights in 92, 15 fights in 93, and 7 already in 1994.
Turning it up a bit this round is Duran.
Roberto Duran, 3 months off of the Pazienza fight, and you know he weighed in at 167. He's got to be over 170 pounds right now, and does not look the snappy 163 but 3 months ago against Pazienza. And these are the fights that you really, as Roberto said, you really can have some problems, although he nails Heath Todd right there. You know, you understand, you look at Roberto Duran's fights. Oh, on the turnaround, Heath Todd gets a free one in there. He apologizes, but he got the shot in. That's his all-time high. Looks like he's going to break out into tears.
Yeah, I thought he was going to ask for the autograph when they went out for the instructions.
But, you know, you see some of the losses to Duran when he really didn't come in prepared for fights. Kirkland, Lang, Patton Lawler. Will Heath Todd add his name to the list?
Well, that's what he was looking for in this fight.
But Duran looks tired here in the second round. Coming in a little whiter than the last time we saw him. Inside 20 seconds to go in the second. He's in against a guy who's only been down once in 29 fights.
Good body shot.
And we will pause now for a word from your local cable systems. Well, of recent note, Jose Luis Ramirez had 111 fights. Carlos Monzon had 100 on the nose. This is fight number 104 for Roberto Duran. You know, I think back of that Sean Fitzgerald fight, which was here at Bay St. Louis, fight in which Fitzgerald actually won the first 5 rounds against Duran, and then it was in the 6th. Duran got his spot and clocked Fitzgerald for the knockout victory. Roberto, well, you know, he sees the openings. He makes the openings with his shoulders, with his head fakes, inside those short punches. And he's just looking for a spot on Heath Todd. Doesn't feel as if Todd can hurt him.
He said, age has made me more crafty. Now, Roberto Duran says, I can't waste my punches.
Here's that straight right hand to Heath Todd. You know, there are many fighters who come in behind their jab. Heath Todd usually comes in behind his face. I mean, he will be there for Roberto Duran. Frisky 2 rounds for Heath Todd. Looks like he, too, here in the third is starting to feel it a bit.
Well, he's feeling that weight difference. He's never fought this heavy in his career. Weighed in at 166 today with all of his clothes on. And he's struggling around with Duran. He's trying to move 167 pounds, now 172 pounds. Roberto Duran. And look at the difference in size of these two.
But this fight certainly not taking on that world-class look.
No, not at all. Not at all. And if you're in there with a fighter like Heath Todd, if you're Duran, my initial thought was, you know, if you're in there with him, you got to get this guy out of there before he makes you look bad. Heath Todd is a crafty fighter, one that can hang in there, he can hang tough. There's a good right hand from Duran.
Holding on was Heath Todd.
Smiling is Todd. This is a dream come true.
He could look in the mirror tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
See the bruises on his face and say, those were administered by my idol.
Something to cherish.
Now it's the jab. Roberto Duran just picking Todd apart from the outside. Oh, Roberto Duran. Todd just staying right there for the jab. Seconds to go in round number 3. Roberto Duran opening up Heath Todd here in the 3rd round.
On the attack again in that 3rd round, Duran moving Todd back to the ropes with a good right hand. Todd hangs on and he pulls the head down of Duran. Buy him a little extra time. Pesky. Heath Todd is just he's a pesky fighter. Duran trying to land the big shot. Todd doing enough to weather the storm.
Todd has fought only 2 world-class opponents. Steven Martinez, 28-0, who gave Heath a beating, winning a 10-round decision. Todd was outpunched 3-1 by Martinez. Martinez. Hurt several times, but he lasted the distance. Also against Richie Woodhall, the Commonwealth champion, went over to England to fight him. And Todd never off his feet, but hurt several times, and the fight was finally stopped in the 7th. A very one-sided affair, which this is starting to take the look of. A one-sided affair for Duran. Duran will have a few months to get back into better shape for his next encounter with Vinny Paz. What do you think the Tasmanian Devil is thinking about right now, watching at home on his couch and looking at a Duran who comes in, has to be over 170 pounds?
I think we both know what Vinny Pazienza is thinking.
He's on a plane here to Bay St. Louis.
Richie Woodhall fight for Heath Todd that you talked about. He said, I took all of Woodhall's punches. Heath said that. He said, when I started scoring, they stopped the fight. So maybe if he starts scoring in this fight, they'll stop the fight on him. I don't know, Heath Todd still looks to be in awe of Roberto Duran.
In his 104th professional fight, Roberto Duran has probably 104 different ways he can beat Heath Todd. Heath Todd has only one way that he knows how to fight.
Yeah, and he said he was going to use that tonight. Fight plan was to stick and move, head movement, speed, and outpoint Roberto Duran and use parrying. And I don't think we've seen very much of that, if any of that. Heath Todd said he wants Vinny Pazienza after this fight, after he beats Roberto Duran, but he's about to lose more than just a fight. He's about to lose his trunks.
Well, he's trying to catch Roberto Duran coming in, but the last time Todd knocked anybody out was a dozen fights ago. And for Roberto Duran, this fight has given him something to train for, with a question mark after the word train. Casino Magic is packed. They have come out to see a legend at the age of 43. Roberto Duran, who steps in for the most part, minimizing his risk and trying to maximize his financial considerations. Taking the safe fights here in Bay St. Louis, able to parlay that into a matchup against Vinny Pazienza, and made it close enough on that one particular night to parlay that into another fight. The rematch is scheduled for January 14th, we understand, in Atlantic City. And for that one, you know, Duran has a couple of months to get back into condition, into shape.
Yeah, I don't think that we've seen him in this bad of condition. He has come back when we saw him against Jacques LeBlanc, Sean Fitzgerald, Tony Menifee, Terry Thomas. I mean, he was there playing the part, playing the role of a boxer. But now that that fight is signed, I mean, this is what you see in aging fighters that you don't want them to come back. When they show up overweight, not sharp, not thrift, not taking their opponent serious. Todd throwing a few punches, but Todd's problem is he throws one shot and he holds on. With a fighter like Duran, you got to hit him with combinations. And they got to be fast, too. He's got it. We're getting his fight plan. He said that Heath Todd said he saw that Pazienza fight. He said Duran was very strong. He was a strong fighter. He was slower than the old Duran and not as sharp.
Well, he's not going to be any faster or sharper tonight.
No. I wonder if it's still Heath, but he's hitting Heath. He's not any faster, but he's cracking Heath.
You know, earlier Duran talking about trying to keep in condition at this age, saying that he's actually taking better care of himself now. When he was younger, he had bad training habits. He partied a lot. He says he didn't want started to look at him as an old man. This was many fights ago, but tonight Roberto Duran is not being portrayed in a very favorable light, and one of the fans throwing a cup, not very happy with what they are seeing here.
Well, slowing it down to a walk is Roberto Duran, but still scoring, landing with a good combination, but the Heathen takes it with a smile and then throws a punch of his own. Not much power on that punch from Heath Todd. But it was a combination from Todd.
Realized back in Missouri, if he opened up a drinking establishment, they could call it the Heath Bar. Some of those things were starting to scribble down around this time, champ. 6-round action.
You can come in for a Heath Toddy.
And this is where Roberto Duran ended the fight against Sean Fitzgerald, in a fight in which he did not look very impressive in the first 5 rounds. And now the dance is on, the hold by Heath Todd.
Yeah, trying to survive. Heath Todd got cracked in that last round. Trying to hold on, trying to wrestle a little bit.
Sean, tell me what Heath Todd is going through. Here's a guy who's basically a circuit fighter in the Midwest, and he steps in the ring tonight with a legend, albeit 43 years of age and really overweight from what we've seen Duran of late. What is this adjustment for Todd?
Well, the only thing Todd is wanting to do is get to the final bell. He wants to go the distance with Roberto Duran. There's a low blow from Duran. You know, when you're frustrated like Roberto is, in that you can't knock out the fighters like Heath Todd, sometimes you occasionally, out of frustration, go down too low.
But tell me,
but it's Todd. This is why the wrestling. See the frustration in Heath and in Roberto. Both of them are upset about this performance. Heath is worried about getting hit. Roberto's upset that he's not able to knock out Heath Todd. You know, Roberto's heard the critics too, who say that the hands of stone have cracked. He's not as powerful as he once was.
Well, in the Duran fight, or rather in the Pazienza Duran fight, the hands of stone looked to turn into the legs of stone in the final 5 rounds, although Duran will not admit to that.
Good overhand right. And tying up, holding on. This is so frustrating. If you're Duran, see his left hand, Roberto's left hand is free. You got to dig. There's that right hand. It's free.
Plus this mauling wrestling stuff does not help the image of Roberto Duran.
Not at all. Not at all. But you have to. He's the former champion of the world.
We will pause for these words from your local cable systems. The doctor going into the corner was called over by referee Elmo Adolph. Yeah, the referee was ready to wave it down. They did not want to stop it in the Todd corner. Heath Todd, as Sean had mentioned, I mean, he was in here to try to go the distance, say he went 10 rounds with Roberto Duran. So Duran wins it, his 94th against 10 defeats, although one that certainly will not go down as a memorable victory. This is what happened in the corner at the end of the round. Referee Elmo Adolph, who really wanted to wave that off. He got the opinion of the doctor, who kind of deferred to the referee. And Elmo Adolph, one of the real fine veteran referees, knew that Heath Todd had already taken too much, and the cut basically confirmed that. And Roberto Duran gets a workout for 6 rounds and picks up the victory.
Yeah, Elmo Adolph, an outstanding referee, takes a look at the overall picture. I mean, Heath Todd had not won a round. He wasn't really in this fight. He had resorted to just holding on and tying up, trying to get to that corner at the end of every round and trying to get to the final bell. But Roberto Duran gets the win. Not very impressive, but Roberto Duran used what he had, his experience, his craftiness, try to keep it going, although I thought a very poor showing from Roberto Duran and a dangerous poor showing.
All right, let's go up into the ring to Gordon Wood and get the final announcement on this fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, upon the advice of the ringside physician, referee Elmo Adolph stops the bout on a technical knockout at the end of the 6th round. The winner by TKO, ready for one more shot at a coveted 5th world title. Put your hands together for El Hijo de la República de Panama, the son of Panama, and he is Roberto Duran.
Well, this will be a moment Heath Todd will never forget. Embraced by his all-time hero, Roberto Duran. And Heath Todd, one of the few fighters who could walk out of the ring a loser, but with a smile on his face. And we'll be talking to Roberto Duran when we return on USA's Tuesday Night Fights.
Took a packed house here to watch a gentleman who is certainly becoming a favorite son here in Mississippi, Roberto Duran, and with Louis de Cubas helping us out. First, ask Roberto what he was saying to Heath Todd in the ring at the end of the fight when they embraced one another.
¿Qué tú le estabas diciendo al muchacho después de la pelea, después que le pasaste el brazo por arriba? ¿Qué le dijiste al muchacho?
Que él no podía ganar a Roberto Duran, que él perdió con un hombre 4 veces campeón del mundo, que él no me iba a ganar a mí de ninguna manera.
He says, he just told him you were never going to beat me. You know, you were fighting with a 4-time world champ. You know, you just weren't going to beat me.
So in other words, Roberto with the modest approach at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
This was not the same Roberto Duran that fought Vinny Pazienza. There's no question that we would have expected it. But how did Roberto look at his performance, in which we thought he came in a little bit too heavy this time?
Dice que qué es lo que tú crees de la pelea esta, que vaya, que no viniste en el mismo peso, que viniste para Paciencia, ni se ve que viniste en las mismas condiciones. Pero qué es lo que, ¿por qué tú viniste tan pesado para la pelea esta?
Porque ese fue el peso que habíamos contratado, pero eso a mí no me preocupa, ¿me entiendes? Lo importante es que yo venía de para, yo no estaba entrenando, yo tuve que coger esta pelea en ese peso para no forzarme mucho.
He says after the Paciencia fight, he went to Panama, took a little time off, partied a little bit, and we signed the fight at 68. He made 67. You know, so you know, he just came at the weight that he signed for. He came 1 pound underneath the weight he came and signed for.
Yo peleo en todos los pesos, a mí me da igual.
He says he'll fight at any weight, he don't care.
Speaking of,
pero yo voy a estar en mucho mejores condiciones cuando peleo con Paciencia.
He's going to be in a lot better shape when he fights Vinny.
Well, yeah, we're sure he is. But Roberto had once said he doesn't want to step in the ring where he doesn't look good. He looked a little slower here tonight. This was not a classic performance.
Dice que tú sabes que luciste un poquitico más lento para esta pelea. Tú sabes por qué.
Después de la pelea yo no estaba entrenando, yo comencé a entrenar después.
He says he's only been training for 4 weeks, and you know what? He won every round. So you know, I don't know what, you know, he won every round. He dominated completely. I don't think the kid landed maybe 1 or 2 punches. So you know, I think he looked pretty damn good. You know.
Lo bueno que yo no pierdo la pegada. Yo mantengo siempre la pegada en cualquier asalto.
He says one thing he's got is, you know, he's got the power. He can finish you off in any round. You know, so he knows that. You know.
Yeah, very difficult man to fight in Heath Todd. But do you think, Roberto, that this sends any kind of message to Vinny Pazienza because the holding, the tying up, the frustration?
Dicen que tú sabes que Heath Todd es un hombre difícil de pelear porque aguanta, tú sabes, y es un tipo, tú sabes, que aguanta mucho y te usa muchos pesos y le vas a mandar los mensajes a Vinny Paciencia.
Lo único que le digo a Paciencia, que cuando yo peleé con él no estaba en buenas condiciones, que la próxima vez lo voy a retirar, lo voy a sacar del ring, no va a pelear más nunca cuando pelee conmigo, a la gallina esa.
This is the only thing he's going to say, you know, he's going to be in great shape for his next fight, and he's going to retire Vinny Paciencia. He's going to retire him from boxing, and he's never going to be able to fight after he gets done with him, that chicken, Vinny Paciencia.
What about this fight? Did they stop the Heath Todd fight at the right time?
Dice que si pararon la pelea de Heath Todd bien.
Él estaba bien porque él no me hubiera ganado a mí y él hubiera recibido más cortada para abajo.
He was very good because he was losing every round. He wouldn't have beat Roberto Duran, and the cut was pretty nasty. You know, he would have been hurt in the fight.
Why would Roberto think that the second Pazienza fight would be any different? What did he see in that fight after 12 rounds that thinks that he could beat Pazienza this time?
Dice que después que viste la pelea de Vini Paciencia, ¿por qué tú crees que la segunda pelea va a ser diferente?
Porque yo voy a estar en muchas mejores condiciones. Yo no estaba en las condiciones que yo estaba. Yo andaba en política, yo andaba en sinvergüenza en Panamá. Y él estaba toda la vida entrenando, así que no le puedo hacer nada a Roberto Duran. Ahora que Roberto Duran se prepara mejor, él no le va a ganar a Roberto Duran. Lo voy a baratar todo.
He says, I was doing politics in Panama. You have to make sure everybody remembers that. He was running for senator of Panama. He only trained 5 weeks for that fight. You know, we came to camp at 189 pounds, so with the help of Mr. Leo Talasides, we got him in shape and brought him down weight. And even though like that, he still beat Vinny Paciencia. More sports writers in the United States had Roberto Duran winning by 1 and 2 points. I mean, he really had him down twice in the fight. They only counted 1 knockdown, but he had him down twice in the fight.
Louis again, once again, interpreting and not translating, but we appreciate. All right, that is it. Roberto Duran, a victor here tonight, and he now looks ahead to Vinny Pazienza, January 14th for Duran Pazienza 2. We'll be back. Tuesday Night Nugget coming up next on the Tuesday Night Fight. It was 3 years ago, a journeyman from Mexico, Mauro Gutierrez, looked to be made to order for exciting young undefeated lightweight Rafael Ruelas.
Mouthpiece, Rafael.
Gutierrez, 44, 15, and 5 in the late stages of his career. Ruelas, just 20 years old, was already 27-0 with 22 knockouts. Rafael Ruelas comes out to meet the veteran Mauro Gutierrez for round number 2. Gutierrez in the black trunks, former Mexican featherweight champion. He had one world title fight against Azuma Nelson back in '87, was stopped in the 5th round of that one. And now fights tonight for the WBC Continental America's lightweight title against one of the rising stars in boxing, in undefeated 20-year-old Rafael Ruelas. Ruelas, who fashions the smooth stand-up style, is also a technician in the ring, and he couples all of that with knockout power, inside and outside.
And he also prefers to press the fight. Look at him moving forward and trying many times to stay on the inside. In fact, he's got Gutierrez backing up. You know, he could be a cutie with his height. At 5'11", he's extremely tall for this weight division. I was 5'10" and in the same weight class, and I was considered tall. As that height, he could be a cutie. He could box around, but in small clubs like here in Reseda, the crowd is with you. You can sense the crowd is there in your hands, and you work to please them. You can hear them. That's the same left hook that caught Ruelas in the 1st round.
Undefeated Rafael Ruelas takes the count. And he does not get up. He lost the count. He thought it was 8. And it is over. And there should be a rhubarb ensuing. Ruelas looked to be completely clear. He was watching the count. He thought it was 8 when it was actually 10.
What happens when you get hit and you get stunned, you get knocked out on your feet, you stand up maybe on your knees and you can't hear the count. You can't pick up where the count is. If you're not looking at the referee, you can't read his lip. Well, here's a look at it. Rafael Ruelas staying on the inside, slugging it out toe-to-toe with a shorter man. And here's what happens when you do that. Watch the left hook. Boom, there's the one that did the damage. The second one just put him down.
Let's listen to the count.
But if I had to put a 4th in, I'd put either Dempsey or Lewis.
Neither the Manasseh Mauler nor the Brown Bomber make Bill Caton's top 3, though he agrees with Sugar Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong. His number 1 choice is a name conspicuously and deliberately absent from Burt Sugar's Roll of Honor.
I regard the greatest fighter pound for pound to be Muhammad Ali. And we shall discuss that because I know you don't agree.
I am the greatest! One of Caton's choices is at the other end of the weight divisions.
My choice would be Roberto Duran, who I regard as the greatest lightweight of all time. As a lightweight, he was an extraordinary fighter. You know, he had hands of stone.
Manos de piedra.
Duran was renowned for his brutal, head-on attacking style. He carried the ferocity of his upbringing on the streets of Panama into every fight. But he was also a supremely skillful boxer and very difficult to hit.
And a good comeback in the 13th by the champion. What a good fight, and the bell's gone, and they're fighting after the bell. And Buchanan hurt with a low punch. This is going to cause some confusion here. He came in with his head and he threw a low punch, what looked to me deliberately after the bell in the 13th, and I don't think that Buchanan is going to get up off the floor, but I don't think he can win this fight on a foul.
I think the first thing you must understand about Roberto Duran at his prime is he wasn't human. People ask me what would have happened had Duran fought Julio Cesar Chavez. I figured if Chavez got into the second round after being hit low and thumbed, he'd probably bite off his ear.
One of Burt Sugar's contenders was no choir boy himself. Harry Greb, the Pittsburgh Windmill, had a 294-bout career between 1913 and 1926, losing just 8 times. His style was described by one writer as the manly art of modified murder, and his opponents were often more concerned with avoiding his thumbs and his head than his fists. He fought some of the greatest battlers in ring history in the 3 weight divisions up to heavyweight, including Tommy Loughran, Tiger Flowers, Battling Levinsky and Gunboat Smith. His abuse of his opponents was matched only by the abuse of his own body. His career in the ring was mirrored by a string of unofficial fights around the New York speakeasies.
Last year, AMC helped raise over $250,000 for film preservation, but much still needs to be accomplished. The valiant effort continues with AMC's 2nd annual Film Preservation Festival. For 3 days...
The public's preoccupation with big fighters has often diverted attention away from the lighter divisions, which have their own great champions like Benny Leonard and Willie Pep. Willie Pep may not be a name that every armchair fan knows, but to the boxing fraternity, he's a legendary figure. Pep won the world featherweight title in 1942 and held it until 1948.
So why Willie is called Willie the Wisp. Bill, while we're sitting here talking about best pound for pound, one person who has always come to mind is Henry Armstrong. What a brilliant fighter he was.
No question about it. A magnificent fighter. Probably the toughest fighter I've ever seen.
Henry Armstrong was born Henry Jackson in 1912 on a plantation in Mississippi. Brought up in a large poor family in St. Louis, he came of age at the time of the Wall Street crash, and like Jack Dempsey, traveled and fought as a hobo on railroad boxcars. As the Great Depression took hold, Jackson headed